What is up, duelists? Blazing Dominion is starting to reveal support for the Phantom Revenge archetypes. And the first one that we have here is the new Hecahands cards. Of course, Phantom Revenge, all three archetypes arguably need quite a bit of help, but Hecahands, as its own standalone deck, I would even say it's probably the weakest out of the three Phantom Revenge decks. However, Hecahands has like a little bit of potential to be splashed in other like illusion decks. Like I've seen people mess around with it and Chimera, or Chimera, Fiendsmith, Hecahands. Like it seems to be more like an engine that can work, but maybe these three new cards can change this. We have a new main deck effect monster, a new fusion monster, and a new trap card. So let's see what these are all about. First off, we have Hecahands Makibel, which is the level 6 light illusion effect monster. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name once per turn. Reveal this card in your hand, fusion summon a Hecahands fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, including this card in the hand. Okay, including this card in the hand is interesting. This is basically a polymerization spell, but instead of using the spell, it's part of the requirement for the fusion monster. You basically pay less for the monster you summon. That is decent. Now I get it. I've seen people mention online, without reading the effect of the card, I've seen people talk about how this should have been a quick effect like Draco Tail 5 mana. Okay, if this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by that battle. If an illusion fusion monster is sent to your grave while this card's in your grave, you can add this card to your hand. Okay, despite it not being a quick effect to fuse like 5 mana, I still feel like this is a pretty good card. I mean, just because Draco Tail 5 mana exists doesn't mean that every single fusion effect from now on has to be a quick effect hand trap on the opponent's turn. This is still a pretty high quality... I mean, this is a fusion spell basically, but a fusion spell that lets you use itself as one of the materials and also comes back to your hand essentially every single turn, which is pretty good value. There's a lot of fusion decks out there that would really appreciate a card like that, you know? Like, if this was a quick effect, of course, it would be insane. But I still think this is a pretty solid card to start things off with. I'm not sure if that's going to solve all of Hecahands' problems, because Hecahands at the moment is basically nowhere to be seen. And one powerful fusion, let's call it a powerful fusion spell, because I do think that's what it is, realistically. I'm not sure that already changes too much, but it's a pretty good start. We've got a new fusion monster, which is 2 Hecahands monsters. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. Target a monster your opponent controls, take control of it. Your Hecahands fusion monsters and your monsters owned by your opponent can attack directly. If this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by that battle. Ooh, okay. This one is, I think, a little bit underwhelming compared to the first one. The first one I'm willing to like rate fairly highly. I think the first one's a pretty good card. This one could have really used a quick effect on that one. It's of course a great card to summon into a board when you go second, but even then, like spending, even if you use, let's say you use the first effect of the first monster here to summon this, which basically means you're spending 2 cards from your hand because itself and another Hecahands. You're spending 2 cards to summon a Change of Heart, that's quite easy to interrupt. You know, any form of removal is going to stop this. It's got no targeting protection, nothing like that. Most of the time when your opponent has an interactive board, they're just going to get rid of this before you're able to take control of anything important. If this was a quick effect, then we'd be talking, because then it would be a great end board piece to summon on the first turn. It's not a bad card. It'd be too harsh to call this a bad card. It's just not good enough of a support to make Hecahands significantly stronger, I would say. Like if this was printed into an already strong archetype, like an already existing meta viable fusion strategy, then this would be something that people would consider playing, and it might make the deck better in certain situations. But Hecahands is not that. Hecahands needs some really good stuff to become meta, and so far we haven't gotten it, and all that's left is a trap card, so my hopes are not that high. I mean, the first monster is good, the second one's kind of whatever. Let's read the trap, I suppose. Now, for context, the reason why I'm not super hyped to see a trap card here for Hecahands is that they already have 2. They already have 2 powerful counter traps. So I don't know if what's necessarily needed to make the deck flow is another trap, but maybe it works in a special way. Let's see. Beital Hecaton Share, or Beital Hecahands rather. Continuous trap card. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You contribute a Hecahands monster or a monster owned by your opponent. Take control of one monster your opponent controls. Okay, this is forever, and this is a continuous trap card. Okay. Once per turn during your end phase, send one card you control to the graveyard. Okay, so you have to like keep paying a maintenance cost, keep it up on the field. This is a pretty neat ability. Like, the fact that you get a continuous trap that it's not limited to any phase or anything like that. You can at any point tribute a Hecahands or a monster owned by the opponent to steal a monster your opponent controls forever, not until the end phase, which is so versatile. Like, it sounds simple at first, but this lets you dodge removal, dodge targeting negation, and is removal by taking control of your opponent's monsters every single turn. So this is a card that's really good in grind games, really strong in that matter. So I do quite like the idea behind this card. I think it's a very interesting one because it also keeps re-enabling all of your Hecahands shenanigans, because it is basically a continuous way to keep taking control of your opponent's stuff, which is what Hecahands wants to do. So it's very much like in theme for the archetype. My problem remains that this is a third trap card, you know, because if anything, I don't think Hecahands wants to be playing 3 trap cards. I feel like it's a little more combo heavy than, for example, Draco Tail. And even in Draco Tail, it feels bad sometimes to play 3 traps because you're going to draw them and they're going to sometimes feel mediocre. Hecahands doesn't feel like a deck that wants to play 3 trap cards to me. And what that means is, even if this card is good, at most it's going to replace one of the other trap cards, maybe, or you're going to play all 3 and as a result going to draw some traps in some situations where you're going second and you're not going to have a good time because of it. Which means this, even if it's a good card, it only makes the deck marginally better. Yeah, this is all good stuff. I mean, this is a good card, especially the first one is probably my favorite one out of the bunch, and I do think this might fix some problems for Hecahands. I don't feel like this closes the gap between the meta decks and Hecahand. It doesn't feel like another fusion monster and another trap card was what's necessary for Hecahands. I feel like we needed more like spells. Maybe another spell would have been really nice to get things going. Especially starters is something that Hecahands is lacking. I mean, the Mackie Bell, I guess, kind of counts as a starter because it lets you do stuff on the first turn. But one problem with a lot of the Hecahands monsters is that they require your opponent to add a card from deck to hand in order to summon themselves and then get all of their effects going, which is why they have an effect in the archetype that forces the opponent to draw in this card. But if you don't have access to that card, then it's going to be really hard to get things going because you're playing a bunch of like high-level monsters that have trouble summoning themselves. Another like way to facilitate that, I think, would have been really welcome for the deck, like another spell maybe that says, like, I don't know, like a Dark World dealing type effect, you know, like both players draw one, discard one or something. Like, even that wouldn't have even been that great, but it would have helped the deck like unbrick a little bit and get things going when you're going first. The way things are here, I feel like Hecahands remains more of like an engine in other decks, and I don't even know how many of these cards are going to make their way into the deck in that form. But I'm pretty sure this is not enough to catapult Hecahands into like a top tier position. But let me know how you feel about these cards. I feel like they should have been a little bit stronger, or could have been a little bit stronger, if they wanted Hecahands to actually be meta. But I am looking forward to also what the Eniacraft and Cool Tune cards are going to be in this set, because I mean, it is very likely that we're going to get cards for those archetypes as well. Looking forward to those reveals hopefully in the upcoming days. For now, thank you for watching, and let me know what you think of these new Hecahands.